Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the show. Welcome back. Why am I wearing sunglasses? You'll see in just one quick second. It's a very exciting day. We have a lot to talk about. It's Django Unchained. The D is silent. I'll see you guys in just one quick second.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Action Movie Anatomy.
Ooh. Oh yeah, she's got
This
it.
song could have actually popped up in Django.
It could have, yeah.
It should have.
It really should have. That's the better answer.
There
yes.
you go. See, Brienne knows. Yeah, that's right. We got Miss Movies here. Miss Brienne Chandler, a longtime friend of the show. We've been fans of her work for a very long time.
Yeah,
Hello.
welcome back. Welcome back to the show, guys.
Thanks for having me back.
Yeah.
I enjoyed being on for Enemy of the State, which I hounded you incessantly for months.
That was a good one.
Yeah, Ben and I are very... We're getting our lives together, but you came on for Enemy of the State, and you also came on for Cliffhanger a year before that, I believe.
Love that.
Are we forgetting one other?
No, that's it.
No, those
That's
are
it.
two?
Those
Yeah.
Oh,
two.
Stacy was on for The Mummy. That's what it was.
Yes, she was.
Yeah,
And
that's right.
so Brienne Chandler here, a general in the Action Army.
Yes.
Requested to do Django, and she also requested we dress up something for Quentin Tarantino. Ben and I pulled a fast one.
Yeah.
Lose the t-shirts and lose the suits and put on t-shirts. Well, we don't own t-shirts, so we just decided we would Quentin Tarantino it up and we would do the Reservoir Dogs look. Very different than what we normally do.
It's
You should have called me. I could have done it too.
But you had a sweet one. I mean, you have this
I do.
badass jacket.
Yeah.
I do. I had to sew these patches on this jacket because it didn't come like this.
When I walked into the studio, Juliet, who's up in the booth, Jules, how's it going? How are you? She stopped me and she said, "What the hell are you wearing?" I'm just kidding. That didn't really
Jill was
happen
way
because-
too nice to say that to you.
because I look literally exactly how I always look. But we are going to wear the sunglasses for a portion of the show because, you know, it's Reservoir Dogs and whatnot. So yeah, guys, this is Action Movie Anatomy. We talk action movies on the show. They adhere to 4 basic rules. Rule number 1, the hero always plays by their own rules. There's a hero duo. Really, truly, the hero is Jamie Foxx.
Right.
And he does continue, well, kind of. He
plays
learns
by
to play by his own rules.
Christoph's rules.
He learns the rules, and then he plays by them for the rest of the movie.
Yes, and I believe that Christoph laid those rules out, and they're a hero combo. So yes, the hero does always play by their own rules. Rule number 2: the hero and the villain are always the smartest people, beings, creatures, aliens, dogs.
In the room, yeah. I would say that if you're gonna like the hero duo and Calvin Candie, they're kind of the smartest.
Right. So I mean, is Leo the bad guy? Is he the main bad guy of the movie?
By the end of the movie, it actually feels that Sam Jackson is, but I think
Right.
that Leo is the bad guy.
so-
Slavery is the bad guy.
They're the duo
Yes.
evil.
Yeah.
Because like Leo technically isn't the smartest person in the room in the dinner scene.
Yeah,
But he's got Sam Jackson to back him up.
right.
To
100%.
to let him in on what's happening.
Rule number 3: the movie is driven by police, military, political, or mercenary figure.
Yeah,
Political.
they're mercenary.
They are mercenaries. That's what bounty hunters are. Yeah, it's driven by them. And rule number 4: the movie contains a minimum of 1 explosion. There's a bunch of explosions in this film.
Definitely.
Always.
Yeah. Yes, guys. So we are on the Popcorn Talk Network, the online broadcast network dedicated to talking movies, all things movie related, and talking pop culture about a bucketful. We've got a lot of fun segments coming up today on the show, including Schmoes Corner coming back, making an appearance. We're going to be in our top 5 Quentin Tarantino films, each of us, counting down a list, answering some of your AMA questions. It's going to be a good show, a lot of fun stuff to break down, and I suggest before we fully get into it, I should probably introduce the panel. You know, we did a soft intro.
We did. I was so excited. I jumped on top of it.
You jumped in.
I did. I
Yeah.
apologize.
You're a tank.
I am.
They call him the tank.
No one calls me that.
So, Brian Chandler. Brian, what shows are you still doing? Are you still doing both of your main shows?
I am not doing both of my main shows. I'm
not?
doing I'm at home, I have 2 kids, and they're driving me nuts show right now.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's a fair point.
But
That's
the
what's
people.
happening. But I work on Schmoes Know.
Yes, you
Yeah.
run the Patreon. You're one of the
do.
major personalities over there.
Yeah, I do handle all of the people that come in for Patreon, and I do all the fulfillment that goes out.
Yeah.
And if I am off, then the entire show is off. So
Yes.
Patreon management is no joke, ladies and gentlemen. Ben and I have learned first-handedly. Like Brianne and I were talking before the show, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm trying to deal with Patreon. There's so much going on." And I was like, "Oh yeah, you're preaching to the choir. You've got like 10,000 more people than I do, and I can't even deal with my 150."
I can't even wipe my out.
if you know mythology, I'm the Atlas of the show.
Okay,
I'm
you just got the
holding it
whole
up.
thing on your back.
That's it.
Yeah, right.
There I am.
And Kristian is Ayn Rand. What's What's you have a match coming up, don't you?
I do this Friday.
Yeah.
It's Take the Cannoli, which is myself and Drew McWeeny, and we are going up against the Harris brothers. So
Oh, yes, the Harris
Lon
brothers.
and Jonathan Harris.
Right. Oh yeah, because JTE is now out of the tournament.
That's
yeah,
right.
John is in the tournament.
This is literally Schmoedown Corner right now.
Right now.
This is what we're doing. This is what Schmoedown
Here it
Corner
is.
is we talk about Schmoedown and what's coming up in
and
it.
we wear sunglasses.
And we wear sunglasses.
We'll
But
save
then we
that.
do that.
That's what I'm saying is we need to.
gotta do that
you can
part.
find her online at Miss Movies. You
Yeah.
can find me at Andrew Guy, and we'll get into the Schmoedown in a little bit.
Yes, perfect.
Okay,
Yeah,
he's
there
good
we
at his
go.
job.
amazing.
folks.
Good segue.
Yes, I'm Ben Bateman. So I don't care where you can find me. Okay, let's get into the first segment on the show, guys. We're going to watch the trailer for the film, and then we're going to do our thesis statements afterwards.
I don't remember the trailer. I will tell you this: I can't see it with these glasses on, and I'm with
Yeah,
my
it's
bad
fine.
vision.
We'll put them back on later.
Yeah, we will.
Good evening,
Oh, so
gentlemen.
bright.
I'm Dr. King Schultz. What kind of doctor?
We've been crippled.
I'm old.
Dentist? Amongst your inventory, I've been led to believe is a specimen I'm keen to acquire.
What's your name?
Django.
Then you're exactly the one I'm looking for.
Hey, no sale.
It's funny that's Remar in both scenes.
Very well.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I don't know if there's an actor you just like to listen to say words more, but there's there's the James Earl Joneses and the
Yeah,
Morgan
of
Freemans
course.
of the world, but he's got an amazing
Remar? Yeah.
Or no, Christoph.
The other guy.
Oh, yeah.
Better they are, bigger the reward. I'm looking for the Brittle brothers.
I know what they look like.
His turn in
Sold my wife.
Inglourious Bastards is one of the most
help me do that?
delightful firsts for an actor I've ever seen.
your freedom.
Where you're like, I've never seen this guy before.
Yeah.
This guy, who is this guy? You know?
And it starts
What
from
an
the very
introduction.
beginning. Yeah.
Yeah, he's so good.
Bullseye.
Come on over. We got us a fight going on that's a good bit of fun.
Yeah, behind all of the humor of this movie and the coolness of this movie,
Oh, there's.
it's like just horrific.
Oh, absolutely. And that's like they do such a good job of juxtaposing it in those scenes with Leo, where it's like
Yeah.
there's comedy and levity, while there's just like literally people beating themselves to death in the background.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so savage. Kind of shocking you only see one of the Mandingo fights. You just see the one, and that's
true.
all they.
That's true.
They never go
Yeah.
back to it.
I think it's enough.
It is enough.
It's
That's
so
for sure. The
savage.
way it ends.
Oh, yeah.
What's your name?
Django. The D is silent.
That's probably my favorite line. Of
I
the
was
whole movie.
so happy you said that in the intro. If you didn't, I was gonna we need to cut and restart.
And redo it again, and redo it again. So, guys, that is the trailer for Django Unchained. This is a middle point in Quentin Tarantino's career, and we'll be talking about Tarantino in just a little bit. But before we get there, I suggest we get into thesis statement. It's your biggest, boldest thoughts. The thing that when the movie comes up, you say, you know what? This is what I think about Django Unchained. It's the first, the only, the last, the best, what have you. Should never just be, this is my favorite Jamie Foxx movie. Nobody would ever say that.
Yeah. I'll hop in first. I think I'm gonna hop in first.
I'll hop in first.
it.
I don't like Jamie Foxx.
I don't like Jamie Foxx. This is my favorite Jamie Foxx movie. No, for me, honestly, and Ben actually kind of helped me get here with this. I don't like Jamie Foxx. So
What?
that's it.
Okay.
Neither of us really are fans of him. I appreciate Jamie Foxx. I just don't really enjoy
Yeah,
him.
I'm not a huge fan of him either. That's not my thesis, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's just for some reason. But the thing is, when you watch him more, I love him. Like, I actually like him in Horrible Bosses.
He's a great
I like
actor.
him in Ray. Yeah. So anyway, my thesis for this film, and Ben helped me get there when we were on a phone call yesterday. I know that no other director could have made this movie other than Quentin Tarantino and had it be as well received as it was. There's something about the audience and the general demographic and the general society just accepting racism from Tarantino. It's one of those things like he always kind of meets it head on in every single one of his movies.
Like racism as a subject, you mean?
Yeah, not saying that he is a racist. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a famous story that we talked about on our Crimson Tide episode where Denzel's in the room and Quentin Tarantino's kind of he's like a ghostwriter. I mean, he wrote the script.
Yeah.
So he's on set and, Tarantino uses the N-word in basically every single movie that he writes. And he says it himself in Pulp Fiction. And so Denzel, being Denzel, stops everything and is like, hey, I want to have a conversation with you about why you think it's okay to write that word and use that word as a white man. He's like, Tarantino's like, yeah, we can have this conversation later. And Denzel's like, no, I want to have it right now. And so they have it. And I don't remember exactly how the story went, but they walked away from it amicably and Denzel understood where he came from. So to come back around to my thesis is, I don't think a Spike Lee could have done this. He's another auteur director that does odd films, but I honestly believe that Quentin Tarantino, having racial issues in his films for 30 years, having him being a white man, a very famous white man, one of the most famous directors ever, makes this movie more palatable to the general audience. And again, I'm not calling anyone a racist. I'm not saying that it makes white people or black people appreciate or not like this movie more because of who's making it. I'm just saying I don't think anyone else could have done it, pulled it off, and it be as well received as this movie was. This is a top 250 movie, you know.
Yeah, multiple Oscar nominations.
Do you even think anyone would have been
ballsy enough to do it?
No, just like, would this script have even been into the ether so someone could do it?
Right, and because Tarantino writes and directs all of his own movies.
Well, yeah, because I think the reality of it is, you know, if you are the guy that wants to make this movie and you're white, it's a very, very difficult movie to get made. It's hard. It's a hard script to sell. It's a hard movie to get made. So you have to be Tarantino. You have to be a guy that has the pedigree.
Because he's known for adding levity in very intense scenes.
Right. 100%. You mentioned it. You know, he plays Jimmy. He uses the N-word in Pulp Fiction. That's his most famous movie, and he himself is saying it on screen. So there's
and the sentence in which it's used is very derogatory
and very offensive.
Yeah.
But there's a coolness to Tarantino as a director that people are sort of willing to accept him being like racy and violent and gory and like pushes buttons. That's a thing that he's done for a long time.
Right.
And he kind of gets to hide inside the blaxploitation film culture. So he gets
Absolutely.
It's an homage in a lot of cases, right? And so I think that's like it's an interesting point to think about. Like, who else could even have tried to make this movie?
I always call Quentin Tarantino the best movie choreographer there is out there
because he takes pieces
from all different things, and a good choreographer will take from a ton of different dances and use it in their own to make it something different.
Yeah, and you know, we have people in the chat here. First of all, chat's very excited to see Brianne Chandler. Obviously,
chat,
people are a
hi.
big fan of Miss Movies. And you know, someone said I think Black Klansman uses the N-word a lot better than Django, and it's also that's also a black director. You got to remember that's Spike. That's literally the person I was just talking about in Spike Lee. So yeah, again, not saying I don't enjoy it. Not saying that Tarantino didn't do a good job. I'm just saying I don't think anyone else in the world could have pulled it off.
Well, because adding to your point, like, so let's just say we mentioned, you know, if you're a white director doing this film, it's hard to do it unless it's your own movie and you're Tarantino. So flip the other side of the coin. Highest grossing black director of all time, F. Gary Gray. Right. What if F. Gary Gray tries to make this movie, takes the script and he decides to make the movie? It doesn't work. It becomes like a weird kind of offensive movie that doesn't have the coolness that Tarantino gives it. It doesn't get nominated for Oscars. Probably makes some money, but it doesn't get received the same way. This movie was like generally received as like, this movie was really cool. Not like that movie was like a little bit offensive, but like that movie was cool.
And it felt good to watch it, you know, although there was someone
Christmas.
in here saying, on Christmas.
Let's go see a movie, kids.
Who was it? Brett. I believe it was Brett that said, Brett Jones, I think, said it was the first time. Yeah, as a white guy, this is the first time in a movie theater ever that I was uncomfortable, but I still enjoyed the movie, which I think, again, it speaks to the movie doing its job. It's important to bring these issues up, but I also think one of the things that succeeds most in this film is the ignorance of the racists makes you kind of, I mean, you obviously hate them, but it's in a different way. And I think that if you have a black director kind of adding scenes of levity or like having levity in that Mandingo fight, it might offend his audience. Yeah, I don't know.
God only knows what would have happened, but I think it's an interesting point because, I mean, Tarantino is pretty singular in that way.
And he can get away with so much. So yeah, Brian, what do you got?
I have a lot, a thesis, as we've discussed.
Oh, a plethora.
I don't know which one to narrow it down to.
That's usually my job.
I put most exciting third act of a Tarantino film.
Okay.
Most blood in the third act of a Tarantino film. Strangest use of soundtrack and no score, in my opinion.
Weird soundtrack.
Yeah.
Best dinner scene, just
Ever.
end sentence. Worst Tarantino acting. Why was he using an Australian accent?
It's
Like, why is that even
yeah.
necessary?
That's like the guy in the commercial. I'm going to give my character a limp.
And the best
Don't do
goodbye.
that.
The best goodbye in a film, which is bye, Miss Laura.
Yeah, those are all great. I
don't know which one to
I'm
narrow it
interested
down
to
to.
say. So Ben and I actually feel like the movie falls apart in the third act, or it doesn't fall apart, but it's like it's just extra.
It's just the movie. To me, when I saw this movie in theaters, I remember walking out with my brother and my dad. My brother's favorite movie growing up was Pulp Fiction. My family's watched every Tarantino film together as they've come out. Like, it's a thing. We all were like, I liked a lot of that movie, but why the fuck was it almost 3 hours long?
It didn't need to be 3 hours long. That's definitely for sure.
It was like you looked at your watch at one point. It was like, there's an
Why didn't he
hour
just
left of
shake
this
his
movie?
hand and we're done?
He could have just
Like,
killed
let's
him
just
and the
go.
shootout, and then they get away. Why
Yeah.
the extra 25 minutes?
Yeah, like why with the
Uh-huh.
Australians and the whole thing with Tarantino? Like why is all that in there?
So my thesis is going to kind of add on, and it's going to be there is no character whose retribution you root for more than a freed slave killing the people that enslaved him. I don't think there ever could be, there ever will be. There's something about it, watching the civility of the white people in this movie, justifying slavery like it's just the way it's supposed to be. Even like Sam Jackson's character, just like you look at Jamie Foxx's character and you're just like, I want you to win so much.
Yeah.
I hate all of these people so much because it's a real thing. It's like, and it's funny that, again, we talk about this, but Tarantino, as a white director, making first a fantasy film about killing Nazis and then a fantasy film about killing slave owners back to back. Like, he's obviously obsessed with this idea of these revenge movies where you get to kill Hitler.
And it's like it's on his own people, or like his own color of people, which is very interesting.
But he's obviously obsessed with this. And watching this movie, I was finding myself thinking, I'm so in on Jamie Foxx. Like the second, my fist bump moment, we'll talk about it, but just like there is no type of character I could think of that I would enjoy watching their revenge more than a freed slave killing his slave owners. That is like, and it's why that's why he's able to make this movie. If you think about his elevator pitch for this movie when he wants to make it, like, I'm going to make a blaxploitation film about a badass slave that gets freed, becomes a bounty hunter, and kills all of the slave owners.
In the backdrop of a spaghetti western.
Yeah. Like that's the movie I'm gonna make, and he's gonna be a total badass like sharpshooter.
Yeah,
I'll fill in the blanks later. Can I make this movie like that?
100%.
You know?
Yeah, and because his dialogue is gonna be fantastic. So those are all of our thesi, all of them, I believe. Is there anything you want to dive into any of them, Brienne, or do you want to stick with one, or do you like them all?
Ooh.
You don't have. I'm not making you do that.
I can't really stick with one. I don't think. I mean, most blood in the third act of a Tarantino film is probably just accurate.
Just fact.
In general.
I would agree. It's a very bloody film.
Which is interesting because, like, when Kill Bill came out, because it was 10 years, 11 years prior or whatever, you think they had to turn the end of the movie black and white because of the issues with the ratings. You flash forward to 12 years later, and it's like they're just like, you can blow whatever the fuck up you want at the end of Django. It doesn't matter. You can use someone's dead body as a shield for like 5 minutes. It's cool. Doesn't matter.
It's just the way that he does it with how like explosive the blood is. So we know like, oh, this is supposed to be comical.
It
And because of
explodes
that,
out of people. Yeah. They're also like the shooting and the violence in this movie. I mean, he literally, if you slow the frame down, there's full frontal of a man's penis being shot off. That's the thing.
It's very unfortunate.
Oh, it's in the final couple minutes.
Oh, right.
And he shoots the guy full frontal, and he shoots his dick off.
And you're
Walton
like,
Goggins, is that who it is?
yes.
No. I don't think it's Goggins.
Oh, is
I
it
think
not
it's,
Goggins?
It's like one of the brothers that he
Okay.
goes and kills in the whatever. It's like when he goes back to collect that last bounty. It's one of those guys. But yeah, it's a quick cut. Shows a dick.
just in case.
So so that's what happens in this
So
movie.
slow it down and press pause.
Yeah, exactly. Or don't. But we're going to get into our next segment of the show, guys. This is Fist Pump Moment. Something happens. You kind of look around. You're like, are you seeing this right now? This is so awesome. God, this is sweet. I love this movie. It's just like your, oh, yeah moment. And this movie has a lot of sweet ones. I'm going to jump in first on this one.
Please, go ahead.
So I love, and it's pretty early on in the film, but it's when he goes and they collect their first bounty on
The brothers.
the
Sheriff,
yeah,
after
but-
he's killed the sheriff.
Don Johnson's house. They go to
Yeah,
Don
yeah.
Johnson's house, and he gets that kill, and it's I like the way you die, boy. And it's just the fact that he's wearing what he's wearing.
Yeah, the blue,
Yeah.
poofy. Yeah, it's amazing.
He's in like the blue, like a bullfighter outfit or something. I don't even know what it is, but it's amazing. And like
You're free and you chose to wear that.
Yeah.
Something like that.
yeah, that whole sequence, and it's just great the way he walks up, because that's the first moment where you're like, you're like, yes.
This movie is going to give me the payoff that I want.
Do it.
Yes.
Yeah, you're like, these guys are the worst. You were a slave. Kill them all.
And then when he picks up the whip, are you done? Because I'm gonna like piggyback on it with mine.
go
Mine is
ahead.
when he picks up the whip and he starts just whipping the shit
Yeah.
out of the guy, and the white, the slave owner just like screaming on the ground, like, oh, it hurts, right? Like it must hurt, getting whipped finally, and then it's the, y'all want to see something?
Yeah.
And then he goes up and just unloads. Like,
Yeah.
oh my god, how could that not be my fist pump moment?
Yeah,
Not
it's
yours. I
pretty
mean, I
sweet.
don't know if it's yours too. I don't want to steal
It's
yours.
not mine. Mine is just the knowing what's going to happen once Sam Jackson talks to Leonardo DiCaprio, like when he's like, oh, you know what, they're coming here to buy her. And then he goes back into the table, and it's like, oh no, and you just have that feeling like my blood is starting to boil.
So
Like,
Christoph Waltz knows something's
Oh.
up. He's kind of looking back.
and just his like how he gets so intense and like actually cutting his own hand like in that scene, and that
love
blood is
that.
his. Like, because he was at such a height in his acting. I was like,
is-
I would have probably been like, I cut myself. Sorry, guys.
Yeah,
We're going to have to cut.
Yeah.
I think DiCaprio was like pretty awesome in this. Like
He's phenomenal.
He's like I was looking. So this is actually an interesting one. This counts as trivia, obviously, but like I was looking up his Oscar nominations history. A lot less than I thought.
Yeah,
Leo's?
definitely.
Yeah,
Like 4?
like 5.
Catch Me If You Can, The Aviator.
Didn't get it for Catch Me If You Can.
No, but nominated. He was nominated for Catch Me If You Can.
I don't think so.
Yes, someone
I'm gonna
told me.
look it up.
It's
Really?
true. It's true. I just
look
looked
it
this
up.
up yesterday.
Oh.
So hopefully.
I'm pretty sure he wasn't. But I know that
The
there was
Aviator.
no nominations between 2006 for The Blood Diamond and Django. That there was a full run of like 6 years of no nominations, which I thought was fascinating.
He was not nominated.
Dang it.
I had a feeling Ben was right. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Wait.
Because I know Ben loves this
Yeah.
movie so much.
Oh, wait, no.
No,
Christopher
Walken.
Walken.
Yeah,
Walken and Williams.
I think it's Gilbert
How
Grape.
dare I? Sorry, everyone.
I think it's Gilbert Grape in
I'm
'93.
going to leave now.
Trust me, this is me every week on the show where I say something. Ben's like, actually,
Fuck shit. No, it's like I think it's like kind of crazy that he's arguably of our generation. He's the De Niro. Like he's the guy that you're sort of just like he's good in everything. So everything he's in, and it's all so high profile. Every movie that he comes out with is kind of a big deal. You would think that a guy that takes the kind of roles that he takes by now, because what I was going to say was what triggered this was if you think about when this movie came out, it's right in the heart of it for him. It's right where he's doing that big run trying to get that Oscar. And so I was like, he must have had a ton in here. And I couldn't believe this was his first. For
a while.
It's the next year after this. Wolf of Wall Street is his first one after Blood Diamond. It's 7 years
Right.
before he gets another nomination after Blood
crazy.
Diamond, which I was like, what? That's like his prime.
so many people in the chat are talking about that broken glass scene and how that is their personal fist pump moment.
At
Whether-
the table.
Thanks,
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah, it's a great
So
scene,
true.
and it's such an offensive scene because the three dimples point that he's making.
Yes.
you're
and
like
he's so convinced.
you're like this is the kind of point that racists have been making for hundreds of years.
Yep.
Like they try to justify these things with science, and it's just like it's so offensive. But you're like, I guarantee Tarantino found that in a book somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
That's got to be.
And you love the way that Leo delivers it. He's like, so right now, if I cut off your head,
Yeah.
cut your head open right now, and you're like, oh my God,
Yeah.
this
And
is
just
getting so intense.
Having those props ready.
Yeah.
Like, how is that as a character? Like, you had that
It's just
somewhere
like,
in a
you just
bag
have this
somewhere.
around,
Yeah.
just a
Side
dead-
note, my father-in-law has a real skeleton because he is a doctor, and he just got a real skeleton one day. And I don't know when, like how long ago it was, because they stopped, like,
you can't get them.
overseas, you can't get that. They stopped selling them
Right.
because people were killing for them, like
Jesus.
killing people to
So you could sell a
get their
skeleton. That's
So
horrifying.
he had one from forever ago, and like he brought it into my classroom, my first grade classroom, and like we were going over
This
all
is
the
a real
bones because
dead
it was
person.
like bones, and then I was like, this is a real skeleton, isn't it? And one of the kids was like, it's a real skeleton?
Like, no.
I'm like, you know what? Let's scratch that.
Does a skeleton like a dried fully? Do they smell
Smell?
bad?
Yeah, it's so
they just-
funny.
Didn't
I was
have a
thinking
smell,
about
but it was
smell.
it was in a similar like
In a case?
casing. Yeah. Like this one that he brings out.
Also, how many times, Brett Jones, I'm just going to shout you out all day today. How many times have we seen Leo fall into this style of role with his level of fame where he's not even in the movie till the third act, essentially? He's killed off pretty quickly. He steals the show, but he is not even, like, he would get supporting is what he would get. He would
Yes.
not
Yeah,
get
right.
lead. Like, how many times has that happened? Great point, Brett. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, not very often, and especially in this period of his career, like
Because he's only the guy, you know?
yeah, if you go back to, so if you and this is a good transition. Well, actually, we're not doing Leo.
No, we're not.
So we'll do a quick mini one right now. If you go back to the beginning of Leo's career, you know, he comes out originally, his first feature film's Critters 3.
Yep.
He gets that Oscar nom in '93 for Gilbert Grape. So that's the early like And then his 90s is like a series of kids roles.
Yes.
Marvin's
What's
Room,
the first movie that him and De Niro did together?
This Boy's Life.
Yes. What is the condiment that is on his face?
I had no fucking idea.
It's mustard. You may need to know that.
So there's like a whole there's like a whole sequence of these kids movies that he does where or not kids, but he like
Basketball Diaries,
Yeah,
things
yeah.
like that.
He's the child actor.
The Quick and the Dead.
no,
I
oh,
watched
he's not-
all
no.
these because I was in love with him, so I rented all his movies when I worked at Blockbuster.
Romeo and
So
Juliet.
I know all his early stuff.
Titanic. So he does Titanic. He goes away for like a year or two, Man in the Iron Mask, the beach, and then he comes back. And this is adult Leo. He comes back with Gangs and Catch Me If You Can. That's where it starts.
He's literally never done it.
The sink in.
Yeah.
Sink into the background.
What I was going to say is that when he becomes an adult and he starts going for these adult roles, I think you can say that Catch Me If You Can is, at that time, was more of a Hanks movie than a Leo movie because Hanks was more famous than Leo at that moment.
Yeah.
And I think you can probably say that Gangs was more of a Day-Lewis movie than a Leo movie.
But screen time, he's on screen, I think,
Equally.
more than both of them, or
Yeah.
at least equally, yeah, which I think is so interesting that he does this in 2012. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's because it's Tarantino, right?
Yeah, he's
It's,
willing.
again, it's the one director, right, who you're like, anyone wants to work with Tarantino.
I'm pretty excited about his next movie.
Me
Once
too.
Upon a Time in Hollywood.
I'm really excited.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
should be.
Pitt and
What's his
Gosling.
next one?
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Oh, okay.
It's the Sharon Tate Manson movie.
Ooh,
It's got like a
interesting.
crazy
Okay.
huge cast.
But yeah, so to get into these guys and where they were at in their role, I mean, Jamie Foxx he had an amazing 2000s. Like his whole career, his star. This is even on the later half of it, like actually after the decline of the early on, you know, which is
When was The Soloist?
yeah, exactly. The Soloist was a few years before this. Was it 2009, 8?
The Soloist was probably 2009. I
Yeah.
would have to guess somewhere right in there.
So then he does Due Date in 2010, which I don't even remember
Yeah.
that movie. Then he does Rio. He's a
Not
voice in
much to
Rio, which was a
remember.
pretty popular animated
right,
movie,
right.
whatever. And then Horrible Bosses, he's Motherfucker Jones.
It's just like kind of an underrated movie. Horrible Bosses. That movie's pretty funny.
I actually love Horrible Bosses.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite movies ever. I have a really funny story about Des with that movie.
What was it?
She bought it for me for my birthday and then took it away from me when she moved out. Like, I saw her room getting packed up, and I was like, is that my whatever, it's not
That's
worth it.
seriously his most recent film for Jamie Foxx?
No, these are the three that he did right
like
before
right before
Right before
Got
Django.
it.
Due Date
Like,
is the Zach Galifianakis, Robert Downey Jr. movie.
Right, okay, right.
It's when Downey Jr.
I
was
was like, I know it's one of those.
It was the point in time when people were looking at Downey Jr. and they weren't just like Iron Man. They were like, you did Iron Man, but you still
Yeah.
could do other movies. Now it's like, people were like, The Judge, not going to see that movie.
Who was the woman that was due in Due Date? Who played that?
No fucking idea.
We need to know that.
Yeah.
This is important.
Now, on the other side of things, you have Christoph Waltz, Carnage in 2011, The Three Musketeers in 2011, Water for Elephants in 2011.
Wow, he's busy.
How you feel about that, Dan Merle?
Yeah. And
Busy.
I never saw Three Musketeers.
nor did I. It's the
Neither did
forgotten
I.
movie. I tweeted about
I
this once.
love the original Disney Three Musketeers.
Yeah, I know you do.
do.
It has your boy,
all of my
Michael
boys.
Wincott. Is the
It
villain.
does, yeah.
And
He's a
my
great
boy,
villain. And Tim
Chris
Curry.
O'Donnell.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Oh, that's a star-studded
another
cast.
one.
We talked about this, right?
Yeah.
It's
Kiefer, Oliver Platt,
Yeah,
Charlie
Oliver
Sheen,
Platt, yeah. Charlie Sheen. Oh.
Rebecca De Mornay.
Yeah. But this is like, he was the guy. I mean, Christoph Waltz, when he came out with Inglourious Bastards in 2009, that was that moment when everybody was like, okay, line up the next 5 movies, because like,
Yeah.
and he wins the
He's
Oscar.
Yeah.
So it's crazy that he wins the Oscar for that in 2009 and then this in 12, and he's just so similar in the two movies.
I totally forgot that he won this Oscar.
Yeah.
Like it feels wrong.
He's great.
He's great.
But it's weird.
It's like a Meryl Streep win. Well,
But she at least plays like
give it to
she'd
ya.
get it like Julia, and then she'd
Yeah,
do like
yeah,
like
yeah.
you know the
Into the
Post
Woods
or
or
something.
something.
Yeah. Whereas this is like it does feel very much like the same dude.
It's just like he. Well, and
this
so
is a dude that's nicer than the other dude.
Yes,
if the other
definitely.
guy was nice, this
he's the
would
nice
be him.
version. Well, so this is something really interesting. So there's two kinds of actors, and then there's two kinds of directors that want to cast actors in certain ways, right? So there's the kind of actor like Day-Lewis or somebody who he's going to completely try to disappear into the role. Like he's going to just do everything that he can to not be Daniel Day-Lewis in the role.
Yes.
And then there's people who will do that at times, but what they get hired for mostly is to be the version of them that the world likes. Denzel's like this. He gets hired to be Denzel most of the time. Jamie Foxx has a persona that he got hired to play in this movie. Like obviously Tarantino was like, I want this character, and I think Jamie Foxx is this character. So Jamie Foxx be this character.
Right.
And it's not like Jamie Foxx like puts on makeup or walks with a limp or changes his voice or talks in a way that you wouldn't expect him to. He like literally
He just is Motherfucker Jones from Horrible Bosses with thrown in a Western.
And so by that standard, Tarantino's like, it worked really, really well in Inglourious Bastards. Christoph,
let's do that.
I just want you to do it again.
Nicer.
Yeah, and again, you can't. He is almost the best part of this movie. I like Leo a little bit more, but they're like neck and neck. They're both phenomenal.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can't. It just feels wrong because it is so similar, but he definitely is an incredible actor.
Whereas DiCaprio, it's like such a different character. He's the other kind of actor where he's very much being asked to do something that's not him.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right.
This I feel
Right.
like was his first like evil role.
DiCaprio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like really evil.
Yeah, he's really good at being a shit in this.
Yeah.
Like, really. Even I love how much teeth can make you dislike someone.
His yellow
His
teeth.
yellow
Yes.
and black teeth.
Oh,
You're like, you
God.
must be a villain just because of your teeth.
It's the year before Wolf of Wall Street, which, looking back, I think he should have won, and I think that he shouldn't have won for Revenant. I think he was great in Revenant, but I like him way more in Wolf of Wall
Who
Street.
won that year for
Which year?
when Wolf of Wall Street was up for?
McConaughey, which is a tough one.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was a really good one. I love Dallas Buyers Club.
Yeah, that movie's great,
Yeah.
and he's great. So,
All right, so guys, we're gonna get into what we started the show off with, and that is Schmo Down Corner.
boom time.
Yep, I don't know.
Okay.
Oh, there it is. Boom! Look at that.
Put these on now.
I could just listen to this song all day, every day.
I
It's a
just
great
want to
song.
do the laugh with you guys.
You do.
Yes.
You want to
Okay.
do it?
Three,
Two. What's up, assholes? That's usually how it goes.
Yeah, something
It's
stupid
good.
like that.
Thank you for indulging me.
I'm so glad that you wanted to get in on it. I'm sure that Jules loved that in the booth.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna sit back and shut up because I don't matter
Okay.
anymore. Slow down. I'm so bummed I'm not in the team tournament.
Yeah.
Well-
Yeah.
I'm not in it because it's not about scheduling. I was totally open. I just fuck Mike Kalinowski.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in that. I don't want to be on a team with anyone other than Ben.
I mean, that was definitely the hardest part about the whole corruption storyline. Was like,
Breaking up.
well, yeah, obviously. I mean, we had this whole thing.
You were on a roll.
and we've talked about this a lot of times before, Drew and I, that
People love the laugh.
we never wanted Team Action to stop until we won a belt.
Yep.
I was
Yeah.
like, we had this idea and we had set it, and I mean, Riley and I have played 2 matches so far. Spoiler alert: we had a match go up 2 days ago. It went well. So we're still in the tournament, and the nature of Schmodown, as you guys all know, is that there's 2 halves of the year. There's league play, and then
Yep.
there's the tournament.
Yep.
Once you get going with the back half after free for all, and you get into the fall,
Once you're out, and then
you don't really
no more
play again until
matches.
the next year.
Yeah, because there's
Maybe
no.
not for 6-8 months.
Yeah, right. Because there's not really a ton of opportunities because there's
Exactly.
a very set schedule, and then also what happens afterwards. You have to deal with the consequences of the tournament. You have a new champion, you have team, whatever it might be. So
There's storylines. I mean, yeah, exactly. And so, I mean, this is like what happened to us last year. We taped Spectacular right after the tournament. It was like sometime in
Right.
November, I think. It airs in December, and we obviously lost last year's Spectacular, and we didn't play again until we played DC Movie News, and that was in like May.
yeah, because I had my band
that's right.
too.
We didn't play a match for 6 months.
And we destroyed them.
Yeah, it was a great match.
Great match.
So
I enjoyed that match.
Yeah. So
Enjoyed
what?
that
So
one.
talk to me about what you guys. Because I'll be honest, I'm like a little detached right now.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I know that you just had your match go up phenomenal. Like the shit talk, you learn from the best.
yeah, it was good.
It
I
was
channeled my
so good.
inner dastardly. It was,
Because like Dastardly is much more like in your face.
Yeah.
You're much more like you're like so irrelevant that I'm gonna say the most fucked up thing because it's like insulting a tree.
It was-
like
it
you
was-
mean nothing to me.
talking smack to Bibiani in that match was my favorite experience as a heel I had had, because
It's your magnus opus.
I just was, and I was mean. I watched it
Oh, I
back.
know.
You were mean.
I
watched
just
it.
watched your guys' interview with Riley, or
you
know,
watched
in
it?
the secret headquarters for your Patreon.
Yeah. Went
You
up
guys
this
can
morning.
support now. Yeah, I watched that on the way over here while I
Yeah.
was driving. Well, I didn't watch it. I
haven't
had
even
it
talked
on.
about
I was
our Patreon,
listening. I was driving. I was
Yeah.
watching the road. But yes, I was listening to what you had to say, and I love how you Andrew were saying, like, you get to a certain point and the crowd is silent,
Yeah.
and then you got to keep going.
Yeah,
you have
you
to
do.
continue because that's when the best parts come
Yeah,
out.
and that's the thing is like you know because you had that moment early on in the match where you said something and no one heard it, and then Bibiani tries to throw a jab at you and you kind
Yeah,
of go
right.
back at him, and so even in that early on, that's a moment where a less seasoned competitor would have been like, "Fuck, I didn't hear it."
And
Like, all
just
right, I need to
Nos
get
with
my
his good job.
yeah, Nos with his good job.
Good
I've never
moment.
met anyone that's cared less about the game than Matt Nost. But then, yeah, you really that and the previous match, you were a horrible human being, and Faust and Zipper.
Yeah.
Fouch. I was going to say, I
Fouch.
said something wrong. Fouch and
Faust.
Zipper really felt the brunt of that. So
Yeah, they weren't pleased with me afterwards. So
on the other side, sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, that's what has been fun. We've played 2 matches, and obviously, I'm excited about that. And
Riley rounds you out better than I do. That's just a real thing. He's
in
just
terms of trivia,
just-
or in terms of personality.
in terms of outfits. No, in terms of trivia. Personality, no way. Team Action is the best personality in my opinion. I truly
agree.
believe that Riley balances you out better as a competitor because he has a vastly different, our age difference, and then a vastly different knowledge of older films that I don't have.
I mean, Riley is arguably a better player than I am, so would be a good reason why he would round me out.
Yeah, but I'm better than both of you. I've beaten I've beaten Riley. He's a 2-time champion. I've beaten Merle. Okay.
I'd like to hear what Brianna has to say.
Oh, okay. I do like the duality that you have with Riley and you were talking about this also on your Patreon about how Riley will say, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so
Yeah,
sorry
right.
about this guy." Like,
exactly,
he'll
exactly.
apologize for you, and I feel that's hilarious. But yeah, I have
that's
a match
one of my
this
favorite
Friday.
things.
Yeah, you have a match this
And,
Friday.
Yeah, so that's going down. Check it out. See if Drew will dress up with me again. We'll see. We did that once. I think he was okay with it. As long as I bring his outfit to him, then it's
Right.
okay. Like he'll like get in it. You know.
I think McQueenie, in my opinion,
We've talked about this a lot.
there's only a couple people in the whole league that I think like on a pure trivia level, going head to head with, I would be like, ugh. And he's one of them. McQueenie's one of them. Irwin's one of them.
Well, McQueenie and Irwin have an insane knowledge base, and they're unflappable. They do not. They have the same lackadaisical, don't give a shit attitude that Nost has with exponentially more trivia knowledge. Not that Matt's not good.
Yeah.
They're just insane.
In terms of knowledge, I think those two, and I think Cushing is the other. That's like in terms of what she knows.
But you can get in Rachel's
I
head.
also think
Yeah.
those guys don't wear their heart on their sleeve. Like they like really
Right,
don't show
yeah,
you
yeah.
what kind of emotion they're feeling. Because I know that Drew wants to win.
Yeah.
Like I know he wants to win.
Oh yeah.
So how do you
So-
guys? So do you know what your next match is? You know what yours is. We'll start with that. How do you feel about? Is it so? It's the Harris brothers now because JTE got in an
Yep.
accident. Is that
That's right.
Fucking bird scooters, man. Watch
if
out.
we get through them, then we go on to play the Odd Couple because they had just won.
Oh, they
Yeah.
won their round 2 against
Yeah.
Paddington, right?
Yes.
So how do you feel? Who's Lon's? He's his brother.
Yeah.
His real life brother.
Yep.
And is he?
Yes.
Who is he? Is
John.
he good?
He's a comedian.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I know.
The tough thing about that, I think the tough thing about that for them, I would just guess, and I've actually never met John, is that I think if you grew up with someone, in theory, the movies that you remember, your deep cut pulls
You
will be
watched
so
them to-
similar.
that's a good point.
You'll have such a shared base of knowledge. They probably talk to each other about movies their whole life, so I'm sure they both know a lot. I mean, Lon is pound for pound one of the best players there is. He knows
Yeah,
a
he's
lot.
incredible.
But I think it would be hard to imagine that John would be able to bring a lot to the table. So I think you guys have a good shot. I mean, you got, obviously you switched teammates.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
You got Drew.
I did.
You originally had
Devon.
which
Guys, let me just teach the audience something. A closed mouth doesn't get fed.
yeah.
So there you go.
That's very fair.
You wanted to win. I get it.
Yeah.
Someone asking here, question: did Ben actually get very angry about Roca?
Which and
I mean, I'm assuming it's him
Which
crashing
time?
at
Oh,
another
crashing
interview.
an interview.
Did he? I mean, he probably crashed another one of your interviews. You know?
in the post game when I said I was going to hit him with my car.
Yes.
No.
I do want to say
No,
something.
you weren't actually annoyed. It was just storyline.
I mean, look, I get annoyed with Roca in the same way you get annoyed with
I mean,
Roca.
it's
He's
the
just
same way
there.
everyone gets annoyed with Roca. He just like someone. Dennis Gretzky watching Roca crashing interviews is the only thing I dislike about the Schmodown. It's always cringy and it happens too much.
He's just there always.
I added in that.
He
It
crashed
happens
He
too
works
much.
there.
He
So.
crashed both post games.
Yeah,
Both of them.
it's unheard of.
So he's playing Bibiani coming up, and so he crashed both.
So it makes no sense. But I will tell you this: Django has been asked 6 times on the Schmodown so far. The most recent one was the one with Odd Couple and Paddington 2, and they had the whole Broomhilda situation.
It's
And I have a
Broom.
great behind the scenes with Tom Dagnino, where he's like asking me about what's going on, Broomhilda or Brunhilda, and I'm like, it's broom, like, you know, sweep, and he's like, I don't have a broom, I have a Roomba. How about Roomba Hilda? I was like, okay, Tom, all right.
I love Bobby G.
Bobby G. He's a treasure. He's a national treasure.
And then, do you know who you have next, or is
No.
that still up to?
It's Founding Fathers or Corruption.
yeah, they have to play still. They're
Yeah.
playing. I think it's Friday.
Monday.
They
Oh my
play.
God!
No,
Founding
Monday. Or
Fathers.
Tuesday.
You guys play Friday. They play next week.
They play next week.
I
yes.
want them to win so that you can kill Dan and Roca.
Yeah, me too.
That's what I want.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, that's probably a good enough
Yeah.
Schmoes Know corner. Yeah, pop these off.
So you guys can go watch the Movie Trivia Schmoedown. It's a movie trivia show. It's awesome. It's on Collider. Also, we have a Patreon and a Facebook. A couple quick shout-outs there to our patrons. We have a brand new show going up this week. It's going to be top 5 Tom Cruise stunts.
In the Mission Impossible
nice.
franchise.
Yeah,
Nice.
it was submitted to us by one of the patrons, and also we put up, as we mentioned, a 40-minute behind-the-scenes review of that match with Mark Riley. He's in the
Yeah.
secret headquarters.
Yeah, it's a
Yes.
really cool episode. There's an orchid that's featured.
Yeah. It was delivered by Roca after he beat
It was a condolence orchid.
Condolence Orchid. So anyway, guys, let's get back to the episode. So, talking about Quentin Tarantino.
Do we maybe just do his top 5 instead of talking about his career, since everyone knows who he is and we're running out of time?
It's fair.
What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Yeah?
It's a fair
Let's
point.
do it.
So we have prepared a top 5 Quentin Tarantino films. Each of us is going to share our favorite Tarantino 5. How do you want to do it? You want to go in order? Do you want to go from 5?
Should we all do 5s, 4s, 3? What do you think, Brienne? You're the guest. How do you want to do
I
it?
do have one question.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can true romance be on this list?
Oh, do we want to include movies
I
written
think
by?
so. Well, did he have a hand in directing it at all?
No.
Not at
True
all.
Romance he wrote. He punched up the script on Crimson
No,
Tide.
I don't think you do that.
Okay, so
Because
I'll
I
take that off.
specifically didn't put it on my list for that reason, but then I
Alright,
wasn't sure if he had because he has like a sample director in Sin City that you could throw in, but like
Because he directs the one segment.
yeah, which is a very good segment.
People are gonna hate my top 5.
That's
by the
okay.
way.
People
just
usually
so
hate mine.
Everyone knows.
Do you know, or do you want to hop in with your 5? Number
Sure.
5?
My number 5, Jackie Brown. I feel it's very
Oh,
underrated.
Pam Grier is Jackie Brown.
Pam Grier
Yeah.
is incredible.
I like that movie.
Me too.
It's a good movie.
It's a great one.
It suffers from the we talked about this like a couple weeks ago. The movies you make in between,
Great.
right? So
Yeah.
David Fincher makes 7, and he makes The Game, and he makes Fight Club. So the game,
so The Game
will
kinda
forever
gets-
kind of
yeah.
be that crappy movie. You know, Christopher Nolan makes what did we say? He makes Batman Begins. No, I forget.
Was this the Prestige that was forgotten
Oh,
about?
he makes Memento.
Love the
Right?
Prestige.
He makes
Right.
Memento, then he makes Insomnia,
Oh,
then
right,
begins
right, and then
Prestige,
begins, yeah,
Dark
yeah.
Knight. So it's like, you know, Insomnia is that like.
And even the Prestige was slightly overlooked, but it was just because his star was so hot that
Right.
people saw it, and obviously it's so good.
Yeah, so that happens a lot with these guys where they
Mm-hmm.
make it's the movie that gets sandwiched in between and gets forgotten. So I think in a lot of ways, because he had just made Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction, Jackie
Yeah,
Brown.
Jackie Brown got overshadowed.
Jackie Brown popping up on a few of the lists here that our fans are throwing out. My number 5 is actually going to be The Hateful Eight.
Interesting.
I don't know why. I was like kind of lukewarm on it.
You
but
don't know why it's on your list, or you don't know why it's so low, or you don't know.
I don't know why
let's
it ended up
discuss this.
as my number 5 over so many of the other movies. Even like Kill Bill 2
Okay.
is a movie that I like a lot. But for some reason, I've seen Hateful Eight on Netflix maybe 3 times over
Yeah.
the last like month and a half. And it's a very long movie, so I'll kind of throw it on in the background and come back to it. But I just kind of love the setting out of it. The setting of it. I kind of love
Yes.
all these Quentin Tarantino characters that we've come to know and love in different roles and like doing
It's
different
like
things.
a stage play. I could see this as
Yeah.
a stage play, and I would love it as a stage play. And I was telling Ben before we got started, if you haven't seen The Thing, watch The Thing and then watch The Hateful Eight, because The Hateful Eight is Quentin Tarantino's like this is the thing to him. The Hateful Eight is the thing.
He, like, takes-
he's making it. This is how he's
takes his favorite
remaking
parts
it.
and injects it.
Yeah.
Truthfully, guys, I've never seen it. It's the only Tarantino film I haven't watched.
Really, someone else just said that as well. Zephyr has never seen Hateful Eight.
I'm at a point with Quentin Tarantino where I, for some reason, just don't want to watch his movies anymore. I think he still makes good movies. I just, like, in general, have found his movies to be kind of frustrating because, like, they all feel the same.
Yeah.
But I've still watched all of them but that one. So that
And
includes-
it's Scott Russell.
If you decide to watch it, one thing I will tell you is try not to read any of the credits in the very beginning. And now you're going to read them. But try not to, because there's like kind of a spoiler
Really
of a name. And you're like,
Oh.
like, so.
interesting.
Don't read the credits.
Oh yeah, I never even thought of. That's a very interesting point. What do you got? Number 5.
Number 5, I'm gonna go Inglourious Bastards, which is funny because I haven't gone back to that movie in a while. But I do remember enjoying it. It's like
It's so good.
yeah,
It's so good.
It's like it's got another one of these characters that he writes. You know, Aldo Rain. That's a great character. Christoph is obviously great.
Leonardo Rain
Isn't Diane Kruger? Doesn't
Yes.
she show up in
and
that movie?
Fassbender,
And Fassbender.
and they're both excellent.
yeah, I like that movie a lot. I remember enjoying it. I only saw it in theaters. I haven't seen it since. It's been 10 years.
That scene in the basement of the bar may be
man.
might be his greatest scene ever. Like the tension, actually, it's so tough. This movie has some of his greatest scenes because in the beginning is incredible. The tension building scene with the Jews under the floorboards and
Yeah.
and then the fact the farmer sells them out at the very end, you kind of don't blame him.
Yeah.
But you also kind of hate him. You know, and also it should just be Liev Schreiber.
Yeah.
That guy looks so much like him.
That
Yeah,
guy
totally.
totally,
He
does.
does, right?
I think I know what you're talking about. So it's been a minute since I've watched this. That's my number 5. Brianne, what's your number 4?
My number 4 actually could like switch with my number 3, like those two for sure. I put The Hateful Eight.
At number 4.
There you go.
Interesting.
Yeah,
so you guys both have it on your list.
Yeah.
I have to see
I
it.
love The Hateful Eight.
Jackie Brown made it on a lot of lists. It's not on mine. I put Reservoir at number 4, which I
Okay.
feel like might make a few people upset.
Because people love that movie.
People love that movie.
Yeah.
People
it's
love
It's a little
it.
higher for me.
Yeah,
I
figured.
rewatched all of Quentin Tarantino's films because I was like trying to
Study.
get a new
slice.
wheel slice. So I am really fresh on all of these films.
It's a good slice too. I feel like you probably have Reservoir at 2 or something, but I'm very curious to see what your 1 is.
Don't you worry about
I know.
it.
All right. So what's your 4? What's your 4?
My number 4 is Jackie Brown.
Oh, it is. Okay, cool. Yeah.
As I thought about it more and more, I realized that I loved that movie. And there's so Elmore Leonard wrote all these books, and a bunch of them got adapted into movies. So Get Shorty and Out of Sight and and Jackie Brown. He made a bunch that got adapted. Some very bad ones like Kill Shot.
And then Justified, the television
show.
Oh yeah.
And the reason Jackie Brown gets overlooked is for exactly what we talked about. It's not written by Quentin Tarantino. It's adapted. So it's the only movie he's ever directed that wasn't just written by him.
Right.
And it was an adaptation. And it's great. It's like it's a little less interesting than some of his other stuff.
It's like a little slower paced.
Where has Bridget Fonda been?
Yeah, I know.
Where has she been? I miss her.
I think she retired.
I think she did.
I think she retired from acting, yeah. I mean, but De Niro's
So crazy.
sweet. Like,
Yeah.
What's he say? Is he dead? Pretty much.
Yeah. Great. Oh no, is it Spacey 2 in there?
No,
I'm
it's-
thinking of something else.
It's
other
but the one guy who I believe is Robert Forster.
Yes.
I think he got
Oh,
I think he got an Oscar nomination.
Yeah, Robert Forster's fantastic in that
I'm
movie.
pretty sure he got nominated for Oscar for that.
Yeah, you love
I
him in
think you were
that.
correct.
Yeah.
So that's your number 4. Brienne, what's your number 3 that was you could have swapped out?
My number 3 is Django, so I could have switched
Okay.
that with Hateful Eight. So those are real close. for
Django
me.
didn't make my top 5.
Nor mine.
Inglorious is my number 3.
Okay, so you like it a lot. So it's another, I gotta go back and rewatch some of these.
Yeah, I
'cause-
love Inglorious.
Yeah.
Number 3?
What's your 3?
My number 3 is Kill Bill. Part
is.
one.
I knew it would be.
Which is funny because
Are we talking about as a
Nah, just the
full?
first one.
Just one. You gotta break them up.
No.
Oh, is that what you
that
did?
changes things.
Oh,
that
yeah.
changes things.
we give you license to do it every
Because
year.
I'm-
Yeah, you get licensed to do whatever you want because you're dressed,
dressed
as
as it.
Beatrix
Okay, thank
Kiddo.
you.
It's funny because I remember when we came into doing that film on the show, which 3 years ago or something. I hadn't seen it since it came out.
Yeah, you were not a fan.
and I didn't like it. And when we watched it again, I was like, "This movie's really
yeah,
sweet."
I didn't like Volume 1 the first time I watched it.
It was too campy for me. It had too
Then
many.
I loved it.
And then when I watched it again on this show, I loved it. I
Yeah.
thought it was great.
I love that
And she's
movie.
awesome, and it has all these great moments, and yeah, it was terrific. So that's my number 3.
Number 2, Inglorious Bastards.
Wow! I have
Yeah, you do.
This
Yeah.
conversation's real. It makes
Oh
me
wait,
realize-
I'm
me
stupid.
want
Obviously,
pastries.
it's Pulp is your number 1.
Is it?
Yeah, it's got to be. So my number 2 is Pulp.
Okay.
Pulp Fiction is I mean, come
Yeah.
on, it's.
My number 2 is Pulp Fiction.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy. Okay,
Yeah.
so that means his number 1 is Reservoir Dogs.
Reservoir Dogs, my favorite Tarantino movie.
Mine is clearly Kill Bill. I think all of our fans would have known that. And yours
Mine is Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2. Well, Volume 2, then Volume 1.
So you like 2 more than 1?
I do. I like it
love
more of a narrative.
The Cruel Tutelage of Pai Mei
I've
is
not
one of my
seen it
favorite things.
In many moons. I saw them both in theaters, and I haven't rewatched the second one since 2002 or 2004. But yes, I for me, Reservoir Dogs is the one. It's the movie that when I've gone back to watch his old movies, it's the one that I find I just like. Pulp Fiction is clearly his best movie. It's
Right.
iconic, and it's like everything about Quentin Tarantino is that movie is the movie.
It encapsulates him perfectly.
But Reservoir Dogs is like that, except way less polished and so raw, and it has like it's just great. It feels cool. It's a cool crime movie.
yeah, it is. That's why we dressed up as it today.
And also like there are a few scenes ever in movies that to me are as memorable as Michael Madsen
Madsen's-
cutting off the ear.
Yeah,
that
that's
is
what
one
we
of the
use Stuck in
most-
the Middle with You as our
Yeah.
entrance
Yeah,
music for
yeah.
Take the Cannoli.
It's a
Me
great,
and Drew.
yeah, it's a great.
It is one of the greatest scenes of all time, like ever. Michael Madsen's greatest moment on camera.
Oh yeah, and that soundtrack is fantastic. The whole
Yeah,
thing.
and just the crew, like everyone's so young, and you look at them and you're like, every one of you are legends. Like you're
Yeah.
all gonna be legends one
Super
day.
famous.
All character acting legends. Yeah. So that's our top 5, guys. I know that you threw yours in the chat as well, but we are running out of time. Only a few minutes left on the show. What should we do?
I think probably we can get into critical box office. We started a couple minutes late, and we obviously have. I think we have a little bit of leeway because we're filming another segment after.
That is
Jules,
true.
can you confirm that are we running up against minutes right now?
You guys are good.
Thank
Okay,
you. Thank
awesome.
you.
Thank you, Jules. Yeah, so critical box office here. We got the Weinstein Company, a company that you will not see that much anymore. $100 million budget, opened on Christmas of 2012. It's always interesting when they open very violent movies on Christmas,
Yeah.
but it does happen a lot.
Tarantino likes to release it then, it seems.
Yeah, again, he just kind of transcends like the norm because it's like, oh, the family's all together, but Tarantino made another movie, so we'll all go see
What did
it.
I say? Me
Yeah.
and my dad and my brother on
Yep,
Christmas watched
exactly.
this movie.
Yep. So
My family would never do that. We would go see like Cheaper by the Dozen.
our family, no way.
Father of the Bride Part 2.
Yeah.
These
And
are
this-
things that I remember watching on Christmas with my parents.
This is where Quentin Tarantino's name is such a huge thing. $162 million domestic, $262 million worldwide for a grand total of $425 million for a movie starring Jamie Foxx and Christoph Waltz in 2012. You know, like it's not like now where you put Brad Pitt and Ryan Gosling in a movie and it's like, holy shit, Brad
Yeah.
Pitt's coming back out and Ryan Gosling's been on top of the world.
Is that? Wait a minute. I thought it was DiCaprio and Pitt. Am I wrong about that?
Or no, DiCaprio and Pitt.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry. So I don't know why I kept saying Gosling. Because I want it to be him.
Yes.
Love him so much.
But yeah, DiCaprio and Pitt, which is also just like two of the biggest names ever in Hollywood doing a movie together. So then we've got IMDb gives this movie a 8.4, and I'm just scrambling right now to really quickly try to see what ranking it is on the top 250. And then it's
While you find that, Rotten Tomatoes gives it an 87% by all critics, 75% by top critics, and a 91% by audience. That all seems about right.
Yeah.
I mean, a top critic would say this movie is probably 30 minutes too long. I think most critics would be like, this movie is really good. I like it. And then audience is probably like, this movie's awesome.
hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, the longest part or the part of the movie that you feel like is not necessary is filled with awesome action. So cool.
Exactly. So what's it? Did you find it?
Yeah, 61.
The 61st greatest.
61st greatest film of all time is Django Unchained.
I'm gonna run for office and try to have the
Where is
top 250
Inglourious?
abolished.
Yeah, I'm going to look up Inglourious and Pulp Fiction as you guys talk about your
Okay.
favorite
And
lines.
Kill Bill.
My favorite line is 100. I mentioned it in the lead up, but
Yeah.
it's when he says at the bar to the Mandingo owner, the D is silent, and he's like, I know.
I know.
I love that. That's so good because you've seen a scene already, like
Yeah.
20 minutes earlier, where he can't spell, and, and he's learning how to spell. And the fact that he says that in that moment while he's drinking at the bar is just my favorite. He is a very, very fun character. I like
he
him
is,
a lot.
yeah. Django's super fun. What about you, Brienne?
There's plenty of lines that I love, like the "You have my curiosity, now you have my attention." That's
Yeah,
a great
that's a good one.
I also like "I count 6 bullets, I count 2 guns."
Yeah.
Like that's my favorite. Like pulling out this other gun.
Sam
Well,
Jackson, what a fuckhead he is. in
Oh,
this movie.
dude, yeah, that was actually one of my original thesis, guys. Is this is the most off-brand role that Sam Jackson's ever taken, and it's
yeah.
actually my favorite one of his roles
Yeah.
because he's so hateable.
so hateable.
Wow. Okay, so that makes sense. The Pulp Fiction's number 8. So that would make
Okay,
sense,
okay.
I guess, and
Yeah, I mean,
Kill
more
Bill
so.
is number 169, and Inglourious Bastards is 95th. So this is technically his second best. I mean, I don't know. I didn't look at all the other ones. I'm not going to do that, but kind of crazy.
Hateful Eight.
It's probably higher, honestly. So for me, my favorite line, gosh, I think it's "I like the way you die, boy."
Yeah,
I
that's
love
really
that
good.
line. It's just so good.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? And I have one from Waltz too. When Leo's like, "I think you're a sore loser,"
Yeah.
And Waltz is like, and I think you're an abysmal winner.
Yeah.
Which you're just like, what a great way to say fuck you
Is
to
that
someone.
right before he shoots him?
Yeah.
Right
Okay.
before, because he goes, and then right afterwards he goes, I'm
couldn't
sorry, I
help
couldn't
it.
help myself.
Yeah, and that's great too because he knows he's gonna die. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, because we haven't even talked about the scenes in this movie that are almost impossible to watch, which is like the Mandingo fight and
yes.
the dog in turn
Yes.
eating him, and then the flashes that they show for Waltz, which I think is so powerful that they show him for Waltz and not anyone else.
yeah.
Django's used to
exactly.
that shit. He's
Right.
seen it before.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and this movie is structured. I think the best parts of this movie are those moments that Tarantino is crafting these scenes with his dialogue, where they show up to a town, they kill a guy, they sit there drinking a beer, and he comes out and he has to convince someone not to kill him and take the papers out of his jacket.
Right.
And you're like, are they going to kill him? Are they going to
Right,
kill him?
right.
But he gets away with it. You're like, I love these guys. Like that's all great. I love, and we can talk about do you think that the Don Johnson, the Ku Klux Klan stuff is necessary, or do you think it's looking back one of the things that makes this movie too long?
Just like an extra,
Probably makes it too long.
I think I agree. I mean, we're already.
We needed our first explosion though, so that's where it came from.
Yeah, exactly.
Good point.
First act explosion needed. Boom.
Yes,
Here
we
it
all
is.
we all know how we feel about these people
Yeah.
throughout the movie, so it does feel a little heavy-handed.
Yeah, right. It's like get us to where we need to get to faster. Get Leo into the movie faster.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I know one of the questions online for AMA question was, Will Smith turned down this role and
Right.
Jamie Foxx took it. How do you guys think that would have been? Like, could Will Smith have even done this?
I think so. I think he would have been pretty great too.
Yeah, I think he. I mean,
right?
I think he would have played it pretty similarly. I think you're buying with that actor. You're buying a similar thing. You're buying
that swag.
Yeah, exactly. You're buying that be Will Smith. I mean, I think it's a little more in Jamie Foxx's nature to be this character than it is in Will Smith's character.
Right. If this came out 10 years earlier, then Will Smith for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think Will Smith is generally a little more wholesome and cool. He's a little less tough, and Jamie Foxx is pretty tough in this movie. So I think,
You know what's crazy? Richard Eric Jarvie just told us that our episodes that are longer than an hour get exponentially more views.
really.
Yeah. So we're just going to sit here for 10 minutes.
Want to talk about Clash Royale, maybe?
Talk about Clash Royale. I think it's very interesting, guys. If you no, not even going to start.
I have a sneaking suspicion as to why.
Because I would never end. I'm going to look up a couple other questions here that we saw online then, because since we have time, we're going to be taping something else. We will do that. Brienne,
I'm listening. I'm here.
I know there was one specifically. Well, I mean, okay, so you picked this movie as your third movie.
There you
Could
go.
have been me.
Thanks, Jules.
That's wonderful. Why did you pick this over the other ones? Why'd you pick this? I mean, just because we've done Kill Bill with you before and you didn't want to talk about, what was your number 2?
What?
No,
What are you talking-
for the movies you wanted to cover on
Your
the
top
show.
5, yeah. What was your
Oh.
number 2 from Tarantino?
My number 2 from Tarantino?
On
Oh
your
gosh,
list.
I'd have to look back right now. Inglourious Bastards. I just want to apologize that I don't have Pulp Fiction and I don't have Reservoir Dogs on my list.
Was that
because I
intentional?
feel like no, because we didn't do 7 films. I would have put them
You
on
needed
the
them
list.
all there.
So then it would have been 6 is Reservoir Dogs and 7 is Pulp Fiction.
I have a
For me.
feeling we're gonna do almost every one of his films at some point because I know we're gonna do Pulp Fiction. That's something we're close on. We've talked about it. We've gotten close to doing
Yeah.
that. I know that we're gonna do Reservoir Dogs at some point because it's my favorite. It's great. It's super actiony. It's like shootouts and stuff. I would imagine we could get away with Jackie Brown. We've already done Kill Bill. We've now done this. We'll definitely do
Did you
Inglourious
both
Bastards.
Kill Bills?
No, maybe we
Just-
wouldn't do part 2 because it's a little more narrative. It's a little slower if
Yeah.
I remember correctly. And if Hateful Eight's great. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we were able to do. Oh, I guess we'd never do Planet Terror or Death Proof because I don't think either of us like those movies.
Oh yeah, Death Proof was mentioned a handful of times on here. I'm not really a big fan of it either.
I liked it better the second time I watched it. And I just watched Death Proof the second time.
Is there
but-
any chance at all, and be honest, like just objective answer, that if you were asked, but prior to this conversation, what was the original title those films were released under, you would even hesitate for a second?
In saying
I would never know.
You wouldn't know the title.
in
but
Planet Terror?
Planet Terror and Death
Oh,
Proof
you're
were
talking.
released.
Oh, yeah, no, Grindhouse, super easy.
Yeah.
Easy. Okay, because that was my
Okay, I was
3-point
like,
question that we just wanted
where
to
are we
match with.
getting at?
And Viviani was freaking out. And I think for good reason.
Well,
that's a pretty easy.
More of a 2-pointer than a 3-pointer, I would say. But still not a 5. So
Agreed. And they got to their question was which Jim Sheridan film biopic starred Daniel Day-Lewis. There's 2 of them.
Right.
He got nominated for Best Actor for both of them. Like, that's not exactly a 5-pointer in my mind.
I was like, I'm just thinking, like, because I don't know more. I know more biopic rather than director. So even me, who wouldn't guess the director because I wouldn't know who it was, would go to In the Name of the Father, which is the other one. That they said might
It's a 5-pointer.
So.
So the other thing that we talked about it a little bit, but people are saying that they truly believe that Leo, and Dino Hadziomarovic brought this up online, truly believes that Leo deserved the nod over Waltz because it's more off-brand.
Yeah.
When he's on screen, you are completely captured by him. I mean, it's your fist pump. You know, your favorite
Right.
parts involve someone who's in the movie for 25 minutes.
Totally.
I think I agree. Like, I would love
I
to see
agree.
Leo get a supporting nod. I actually would have even been happier for him winning it over Waltz in this.
Yeah. I mean, it would have been, at that point, you know, obviously you only put up one guy from your movie. 'Cause
Right.
It's very rare that you get more than one. I mean, I'm trying to remember who else was nominated that year, but I know one of them was definitely De Niro for Silver Linings Playbook, and that was the big the heartwarming story. Is he going to get his late Oscar? He wasn't as good as Waltz, and I would have been happy to see, you know, DiCaprio win.
Waltz is the backbone of the movie, though.
Yeah, exactly.
He's there from scene one. So, all right.
So there are 3 action movie categories, guys. Totally ridiculous, totally legitimate, and ridiculously legitimate. We've explained them a lot of times. I won't bother this time. They should kind of explain themselves.
Yeah, this is actually an interesting one.
Yeah, for me, this movie is totally ridiculous.
Really?
Yeah.
You can't even go to the middle.
Because it's intentionally totally ridiculous, but it's like way long, so cartoonishly violent. There's like blood splattering. I told you, there's a full frontal dick shoot off in this movie on screen. He shoots off a man's penis, and they don't show it, like, they don't make it artistic. It's like, and it's intentionally funny and weird and quirky, but it's so long and intentionally weird and quirky that, like, I don't even really know what he's going for with certain things. Like at the end, when Jamie Foxx lights the fuse and the place is about to blow up, and they cut over.
You just keep watching the
Kerry
fuse.
They cut over to Kerry Washington for a second, and she's like, and she like, plugs her ears. You're like, what is this? Is that a cute reference to something? Like, why did you show me her? And smiling.
He's clearly not far enough away either. Like, if you watch how many steps he takes out of that house, I'm like, you got to go farther, friend.
And he puts on his sunglasses at night. But I mean, it's awesome. It's totally awesome, but it's totally ridiculous.
It's totally impractical. Okay, all right. So then Brienne on the other side of it.
I would agree with that.
Really?
I would agree with totally ridiculous.
Yeah.
I was gonna go ridiculous legitimate.
Yeah, I mean, it's a
There's
fair
just
argument.
too many things in there that
There's a lot of.
make
It's a
it.
smart movie that has like a lot of like really really intense shit. It's got an interesting commentary on racism and slavery. So like,
I think the commentary on slavery is too much for me to just call it completely ridiculous. Obviously, I'm not saying you guys are insensitive to it, but I just think those moments for me, since it is real, those things did happen for me, and those moments in the movie where you kind of like stop and you're like, oh right, this is a movie about slavery, not a movie like a fun revenge movie, you know.
Yeah.
So I think I'm gonna go middle category, but I definitely can understand and appreciate where you guys are coming from.
Yeah, fair. So guys, that's going to wrap us up for the categories. There's just one last thing left, and it's called The Pitch. Look at that. She got it. You see that?
It. I did.
Yes.
I'm very
I always
happy
join
about
in.
it.
I
Yeah,
saw
she
it.
knows.
Always.
You could have seen slow-mo as I started to introduce that.
started to get
You could have
ready.
seen her like recognize it was happening, be like, like
The eye on the
guys.
ball,
I'm ready.
yeah, is absolutely phenomenal.
that's how you know somebody's true. That she's a brigadier general. She's a real fan of the show.
That's goddamn right.
So guys, coming up next week on the show, we have a Halloween episode. Andrew and I are going to be covering Don't Breathe. And believe it or not, I've never seen the film.
I haven't either.
It's
never watched it.
so good. I've seen it a couple times. I watched it for the first time with my improv team for fun. And yeah, we
I
all
do want to
loved
see it.
It's amazing.
I love that girl from Suburgatory.
Yeah,
I don't remember her name. Jane
Jane
Levy.
Levy.
It's
There we go. She's
free-
also in Monster Trucks. Great in that.
It's freaky, right? And,
Yeah.
and creepy and gory.
Freaky, creepy, gory. Not super
Don't
gory,
watch the
but
trailer,
it's about 3 kids robbing a blind man, and that's
Yeah.
all you need to know.
Yeah, don't watch the trailer. I haven't seen it yet, but the trailer, there's a part that like really I was like, oh.
Oh yeah, don't watch it then. Don't watch it then, because it already sounds like you shouldn't see it.
I missed a question in Schmoes Know in this movie, so I'm glad I will never miss one again.
Oh, you did.
I missed 2 dark.
You did, and I knew it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, guys, that's going to wrap us up for the show today. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back same time, same place next week with Don't Breathe. Thanks, Jules.
Bye.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com.
I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners and principals.